When it comes down to Lucky's dad as our favorite lovable retriever from Bluey, well, even though his real name is Pat, he has done so much for the healers that it could probably make your head spin in terms of him joining the games or whatever else goes on. But in terms of all the screen time he has, which of his deeds in terms of joining the healers or anything in terms of him getting involved for that matter, which of these are actually good and which of these are actually pretty evil? Well, that's actually what I'm here to find out today. Now, this deed list is actually not too long, but it's worth mentioning. And in fact, if we're going to be honest, we're actually starting all the way at the bad to evil deeds. Because if I'm going to be honest with all of you, there's only one bad deed that I think is actually worth mentioning. And you all should probably know what it is, but say it with me in case you don't, being unlikable and pass the parcel. Now, to his credit, there's nothing wrong with changing a game, but the way Pat executed pass the parcel here is definitely unlikable, at least in my opinion. Because instead of having a present in every layer, it's only one big present in the middle. And when Pat puts this plan into action, it actually doesn't even go that well, because when the kids didn't get a present, yeah, they didn't really take it very well. With Pat feeling very guilty about this, you want to know what's even worse than this? Offering to give the kids $5. To quote Chili, that's not good parenting. Look, we can sympathize that he does feel guilty, but the way he did this here just makes him look like an even worser guy. But thankfully, after this, the kids actually did start to getting used to, well, as they like to call it, Lucky's dad's rules, even though it wasn't. Which is nice. And that's actually it for our only bad deed. The rest of these are good. Well, in my own personal opinion, especially the top 3. So we'll start things off with the lesser good deed and work our way up to the most good. So this might not even seem like a good deed, but hear me out on this one. Our first good deed is getting Bandit interested in buying a pizza oven in the episode Hammerbarn. While Pat was just rather showing it off in the beginning of the episode, during the entire process of trying to get the pizza oven, in the ending, it actually turned out quite nicely. With both of them even exchanging a slice and everything seeming good. Well, we can't really place this any higher since it's literally just Pat interesting Bandit in buying an oven, even though Bandit had the option to do so anyway, but we still feel like this is a pretty good deed. Not really much more to talk about here. If y'all know the episode Keepy Uppy, then we know that Pat has at least some form of interest in it, and trying to keep the balloon up is the next deed on the list. There's not really a lot to say here since Pat tried to get the balloon up, including Lucky, but he did do his best, and I'm not gonna lie, that's literally it. Moving on. Joining Stripe and Bandit in Stumpfest seems more like an event that he would attend rather than an actual good deed, but in our eyes, it is a good deed. In fact, spending time with your friends and generally enjoying it is already good enough, but what makes this even better is the fact that all 3 of them are pretty much just enthralled to have a good time. Yeah, unlike the Keepy Uppy one, we're sorry, but there's not really a lot more to say here, so let's move on. And believe it or not, we're actually already in our top 3, so getting the bronze medal of good is going to be watching a soccer game with Bandit and Pat's family. Again, this seems more like a hangout rather than a deed, but what makes this, well, the same exact story, but makes it a little bit better, is the fact that when Chucky during the episode has a hard time choosing which team to support, Pat didn't really seem to mind and was fine with either team, whatever he was going to choose. Which shows that if Chucky was going to choose the other team, Pat didn't really seem to mind and might have actually tried to support it. Yeah, we never really get to see that, unfortunately, but if it did happen, though, that would have definitely given him some extra parent points. This next entry is going to be pretty short, too, since he doesn't really have the biggest role. In fact, he only has a minor role, but taking our silver medal of good is trying to stop Bingo from using her magic and Featherwand. While we could literally include the episode named Magic, he had such a minor role and only really appeared to dance with Bandit, so we're not really going to count that on the list. So just like Keepy Uppy, Pat tried the best he could to stop Bingo from using her magic. And I'm not kidding, that's about it. While this was proved unsuccessfully, at least he tried. What makes this a little more better than playing Keepy Uppy is the fact that Keepy Uppy was a game, even though Featherwand was a game too, but it felt like an actual serious thing. This actually proves to be better than Keepy Uppy because Pat was trying to stop a pretty big threat, and for that, we give him some hero points. If this were to actually happen for real life, that is. So unlike everything else on the list, where he did have kind of a minor role, or at the very least a decent role, our gold medal of good, and believe it or not, is actually going to go to an episode where he has almost an episode amount of screen time. And that actually goes to helping Bandit give birth in the Dad Baby episode. Now, this episode is banned, But, oh boy, there's a lot to unpack with this one. While Pat doesn't actually appear until after a few minutes into the episode, he was minding his own business until Bluey asked him to help, and Pat was just rolling along with it until he realized what he gotten himself into. Even though Pat has claimed to never have delivered a baby before, the reason why this places higher is because he doesn't give up and does what he can to help. Even though it does prove sort of unsuccessfully until a little bit later. Also, what makes this even better is the fact that he would rather go through a game that isn't supposed to be taken seriously instead of watching a cricket game that he was actually wanting to see. That's something genuinely admirable, to say the least. Sure, it may not prove too much, but it proves how much he's willing to go for his friend. By the way, we can't get over the song he does sing in the episode, by the way, which is definitely an amazing song, to say the least. And that's about it. If there's anything I did miss that I probably should have covered, let me know down in the comments section.